From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LALATE with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. In this recording direct from Santa Monica, California, brand news, breaking news today about your recon. We're going to go over the Build Back Better Act, the BBB, passed in the House of Representatives in November, and a new statement from those House members today on when it's going over the finish line. But no time and place to wait for that, because there's a new push underway for the Purple Power, the viewership of this channel, to get a check out sooner rather than later, and it's called CR for Stimulus. We'll examine where it is today. Then we'll be looking at the possibility of executive order with some of the bodies of legislation and issue. Fourth stimulus and fifth stimulus, which ones will it work for? I have the latest details direct from Santa Monica, California today. New comments from the White House, new comments from Bernie Sanders examined, are they helping or are they hurting the situation? New guidance today, meantime, about what the Federal Reserve is doing with those interest rate spikes this year. Will there be 3, 4, or 5? And when would the first one come? We're going to go over this incredible recon that Nancy Pelosi says will pass and become a law in new comments released today. And the big changes on the Senate side, which will add additional MSC checks on top of the existing $15,000 of checks and the $45,000 of third stimulus repeated under fourth stimulus. But no time and place to wait for third stimulus to become fourth stimulus to become law, because you're getting it right today. Under third stimulus, I'm going to show you how to get all these incredible sums of money, student loan debt forgiveness, the latest details on that, and then fifth stimulus, brand new details today about how it could likely be done by executive order. We have a lot in today's recording with a lot of new comments about the Build Back Better Act coming in just the last 24 hours. Pramila Jayapal, head of the Progressive Caucus, Nancy Pelosi, head of the House, the President, Chuck Schumer, burning even Bob Menendez. What's at issue? I have all those incredible details, plus the effort to get a check out sooner rather than later with a separate thing, and it's called CR for Stimulus. All those incredible details heat up with the latest details about what's going on with inflation, the Federal Reserve, and its interest rate spikes. Will there be 1, 3, or 5 in the year of 2022? Those details heat up right now in a breaking news report direct from Santa Monica, California on Afternoons LALATE. The incredible Build Back Better Act was passed in the House of Representatives back in November. It is now in the Senate. Will it get passed, and when will it? I have the latest details with new comments from Pramila Jayapal, Nancy Pelosi, the President, and Bernie Sanders. It's all brand new, and it's Afternoons ally. Get ready to run to Stimulus Island. No one is being voted off the island. Unless you're from the state of West Virginia and you're the senator. Stimulus Island heating up with new CRs for stimulus to get you a round trip, a faster ticket to Stimulus Island. I have all those incredible details and more as we head into what looks like Stimulus Island in these opening remarks. I'm excited you're here. But first, I want you part of this incredible family and go into this video right now and subscribe. You're watching LALATE, the number 3 most watched financial news channel in America, in existence for over 20 years, but now the number 3 most watched financial broadcast channel across the board. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk or Purple Power Calcino VIP. We have a lot coming up in today's recording, folks. A lot of breaking news. We're going to go over first the checks, so you're caught up on every one of these checks. 3 clusters and 3 add-ons, and then we can go right into the passage of the bodies of legislation. How can they do it? What's at issue? Let's go over each of these incredible checks. that amount to at least $15,000 to $60,000 of stimulus checks you're getting in this incredible recon. 3 clusters and 3 add-ons. We're going to go over each of them right now. Get your pen and paper ready. Cluster number 1 passed in the House of Representatives in the Build Back Better Act back in November. That has in there hazard pay for my earned income tax credit workers. Those essential workers. Want to learn about it a little bit more? It's under a third stimulus. It's extended another year under fourth stimulus. Then $4,000 of elder care got in there. $4,000 of care for young children. $550 check for the Pell Grant recipients, college students, got in there. They got $12,500 checks for the purchase of a new electric vehicle. Got it in there as well. And they got checks in there to repair your home if you live in a low-income community. Plus $3,600 checks for the CTC got in there as well. Lots of checks. That's the first of 3 clusters of checks. Let's go to the first add-on, and it comes from Maxine Waters. She got that provision added in there, and what is it for? It is money to buy your first home. She wanted to give you $25,000. It's a little bit less, but it got in there, that check as well. You want to buy your first home? Well, there's money in the Build Back Better Act, a check given to the seller in your name by the federal government at the time of escrow. Wow, that is incredible, great news in this incredible recon. Now, let's turn back into the second cluster of checks. Make sure you're following along with a pen and paper, because this is all your money. This was passed in 2021, sorry about that, and is still going to the finish line. Let's go now to home repairs and paid leave. It is in the second cluster passed in the House of Representatives of the Build Back Better Act back in November of last year. Paid leave, how much is it? It's about $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. It is $800 a week if you make $80,000 more per year. If you make $15,000 or more per year, then it is, I think $35,000 or more per year, that's $800 a week. If you make $15,000 or more per year, it's $400 a week. Wow. How many weeks? 4 to 6 weeks per year. So it's $4,000 to $6,000 on the high end. If they have to stay home from work due to sickness or illness, all of you qualify. W-2, 1099, and if you don't work, then you're going to get that check as well. If you live with a family member, you have to take to the doctor's office once a week. Now let's turn to the second add-on of checks. Not particularly a check, but a covered benefit. It's $250 billion of it, just a little bit less. Bob Casey got this incredible provision in there. And what is it? Free home health care for seniors on disabilities. It is huge. It's, again, for seniors and people on disabilities. Joe Biden made a campaign promise. It got it in there. Let's go to the third cluster of checks. I told you there's a lot of checks in this recon. I hope you're following along with that pen and paper. Here we go to that third cluster of checks. Free internet, money for the independent contractors, money for the farmers, free school meals for all checks, $65 per month for nutrition checks when you're not in school as a student, and then benefits for the seniors, not an actual check, but benefits. 2 on the House side, 3 on the Senate side. First on the House side, the Build Back Better Act passed checks in there that would provide you money, likely a stipend or a voucher for a hearing aid once per year. Plus, they got in there the Medicaid gap fix, providing years of subsidized private insurance to low-income uninsured people in Republican holdout states. More about that in just a second. The senators vowed to add 3 other rounds of monies, which in some cases are checks, and they are dental vouchers, vision vouchers, and also lowering the eligibility age of Medicare from 65 to 55 per year. And that is what we talk about when we talk about MSC, because guess what? When we're talking about MSC, we're talking about provisions added on the Senate side that is still not in there on the House side. So what is an MSC? What does it stand for? Who gets it? How much is it? When do they add it? Where would it be added? And do we have a way to get part of that MSC out the door faster than the Build Back Better Act? And what is advocacy involved about this as well? I have all those incredible details. You're only hearing them on this channel, and it starts right now. Back in the month of May, tens of thousands of viewers of this channel who advocated and picked up the phone and called the senator's office were told by the senators that an MSC is going in there. That is an instrument in which you get a monthly IRS stimulus check sent to you. The source, senators. The primary source, the senators. The ability to get the information, picking up the phone and asking them. They said it's going to go in there. So who they want to give it to? They told tens of thousands of viewers of this channel that they want to give it to people who got a third stimulus check. Single individual, 75,000 less, got it. Married couple, 150,000 less, got it. Family of four, quadruple, got it as well. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security Railroad benefits, you get it additionally. It does not count as income because it's not taxable. It's not taxable because it's not income. And adult dependents would also get it as well. If you have your IRS tax return set up for direct deposit, that's the way you would get paid. It's set out from IRS. The reason why we use the acronym MSC is because the recon has multiple checks in there, a lot of them, anywhere between $15,000 to $60,000 of checks in this recon. This is a different body that would be added to the recon, in which checks are sent out from IRS. Now, how much are these payments? Well, those legislators told tens of thousands of viewers of this channel since spring of last year that they want to do the following eligibility: $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months. And there you go. That is the MSC provision to be added in on the Senate side. Now let's go over how it works, how it gets added, the nuances of advocacy, and everything you need to know. And in a strange twist and turn, I want to go over a strange, peculiar thing I saw online. You know, there's always someone who wants to make a buck on someone else. And one website that no one really reads anywhere thought that they could make a buck on LALATE. So they went and made an article talking about what the recon has and doesn't have in there. Now, the recon passed in the House of Representatives back in the month of November has these provisions in there, like the home health care, like the money to purchase the first home, there's $3,600, the money for the Pell Grant, the hazard pay. All these checks are in there. And if you add them up, which I do, they add up to about somewhere between $15,000 to $60,000. Their reporting looks sort of like a very anti-democratic publication, is that there's not a single check in the recon. Okay, you know by the first sentence of the article, it's untrue. Then they go over the nuances of the MSC. Now remember, the best way to know what a senator's doing is to ask them, And that's what viewers of this channel have been doing since the month of May. You've been picking up the phone and asking for what you need in that recon. Now, let's go over how they can get this done and why there's another opportunity right now. The way you get this done is a body of legislation has to be passed by the House, the Senate, and also the President. The body of legislation, the Build Back Better Act, which we're talking about, the provisions being added to that, passed in the House in the month of November. It's now in the Senate. So what comes next? Senate subcommittee, in which they modify legislation. They do not remove anything from this monstrosity of the Build Back Better Act from 2021. They add provisions in there, because Democrats are Democrats. So when do they add those provisions in there? During the Senate subcommittee. Then they call for a lower vote on the Senate floor. Then they have a 2-day vote-a-rama. Now, that is how they get it done. It's important to understand the importance of advocacy because the time to modify the legislation has not occurred. And it's Sanders, Schumer, Warren, Wyden, Coons, and Casey have all said they have a lot of provisions to add to this recon, including that MSC. And so that's why it's important for them to pick up the phone once a week and advocate for the inclusion of provisions in that recon. This channel, this viewership, has delivered the biggest advocacy in the United States for anything in this recon. We have delivered now 9 million incredible phone calls to those senators since the month of May 2021. This dwarfs the American petition that only has 3 million signatures, with people signing their name in all of less than 10 seconds. Viewership of this channel is spending 20 minutes on a phone call speaking to those Senate members, saying why you need this money and what should you be doing right now. Once per week, you should be picking up the phone and advocating to those senators to tell them why you need the money in there, because they're elected to represent your interests, but they need to hear from you at least once a week to know that you still need that money in there. And who do you advocate to? Casey, Coons, Warren, Wyden, Sanders, and Schumer. That's who you advocate to. And coming up later in this video, stay to the very end, we have a lot of checks that those senators want to add into that incredible provision. Casey, Coons, Warren, Wyden, Sanders, and Schumer. Stay to the very end because I'm going to go over more about those incredible checks. But the way to get this body of legislation out the door sooner than later is perhaps to take one of the provisions out of the Build Back Better Act and put it in your hand. via another instrument, and that is called CR for stimulus. After the commercial break, we're going to go over where CR for stimulus is right now, the likelihood of doing executive order, the likelihood of doing the Boost Act, and the latest comments from Pramila Jayapal that came in just minutes ago. It's breaking news, and Nancy Pelosi about when the recon is going to get done. When you hear these comments, you're going to understand why CR for stimulus is needed. So what is CR for stimulus? Back in 2020, we were looking at the landscape of where relief was. We had just ended the first stimulus package. It was spring of 2020. Pandemic had just started. And we were waiting for something called the second stimulus package. It was a behemoth. It was 3,000 pages long of proposed legislation. The negotiators, on behalf of the Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, on behalf of the Republicans, the Treasury Secretary at the time, Steve Mnuchin. The negotiations continued through the spring, summer, fall, and winter. And by winter, 11 months had passed, and I said, enough is enough. We need another way to get a check out to the American people. Because they weren't working on a deadline. They needed a deadline, and I need to find one, because 11 months had passed, and that was enough. So I searched high and low, and I found something called a continuing resolution. A continuing resolution has to be done by the federal government about every 6 months. There's a lot of different names, but it basically is a bill to fund the federal government. The federal government needs money to operate its national parks, its Congress, its federal buildings, and if it doesn't have the money, the government shuts down. Congress, both bipartisan Republicans and Democrats, don't want the government ever to shut down. So they may miss the deadline by a day or a week or a few days, but never a few months. It's a hard, fast deadline. So I came up off camera with the idea of putting a stimulus check in the continuing resolution. I prepared what I was going to say on camera. I prepared what I thought the Purple Power was going to say, and I prepared what the opponents would say. And with that, in December 2020, I went on air and I said, I have an idea. We've waited 11 months. Negotiations have continued. They haven't gotten it done. Why not put one stimulus check into it, a continuing resolution budget bill? It has a deadline. At the time, it was December 2020. Why not do it then? Because that would force them to meet the deadline, send out the check. You get it in about December or January. Viewers, the Purple Power of this channel, love the idea because it was a hard, fast deadline in an environment in which Steve and Nancy were not following any particular deadline or rush to get it done. Number two, it made logical sense. It needed bipartisan support. And number three, it was quick. So I said, go on social media if you like it. Hashtag C Charles R Robert, the number 4 stimulus. And if you like the idea, tag your elected officials, pick up the phone, and advocate for it. If you're in the live chat right now, write it out. It's CR for stimulus, which is spelled STIMLUS. Immediately, the reaction came in, and exactly what I thought it was going to be. The negative reaction exactly was what I thought they were going to say. A continuing resolution budget bill, LA, is for funding the federal government. It's not for putting money in the pockets of the American people. My reaction was prepared. The answer I said back to them was, you're right. It doesn't belong in there. But Congress historically has passed bodies of legislation where they put money in there that doesn't belong. And during the pandemic, they were doing this time and time again. They had a COVID relief bill that sent money to foreign governments, militaries. They had a COVID relief bill that was proposing building a new FBI building. They had a COVID relief bill that was giving money to the Department of Treasury and also to the Department of Copyrights. If you can send out money to people who not Americans and not in time of need, why not send it to us? Because we are in time of need. And finally, we pushed. And we pushed. One morning we woke up and heard they're putting stimulus in the CR, but it was the wrong stimulus. It was unemployment stimulus. So we pushed back again. And we pushed day and night, day every hour, advocating, picking up the phone, and that delivered the result. A massive success, and we changed the face of American history. One morning we woke up and they heard loud and clear, and they did it. They said they're putting a stimulus check in the continuing resolution budget bill, and the continuing resolution budget bill will be done in December. The check will go out in December, and you'll get it in December or January. And I made American history, and you made American history as well by advocating for it. Ironically, as we look back in retrospect, the second stimulus package never happened. Never happened. So how do we wait around for it? We would have never gotten a penny. This was how Americans got the money, because of my recordings on this channel. Now, over a week ago, I came back on air and I said, you know what? Something looks familiar. Does it look familiar to you? And some of the viewers actually knew what I was about to say before I even said it. I said, do you want to do CR for Stimulus 2022? They said yes. The negotiations between now Joe and Joe have gone over more than 11 months. The negotiations are not changing. The fourth stimulus package, again, is behemoth. And again, there is a deadline out there, a federal budget bill due in February 2022. Do you want to get one stimulus check into that budget bill, that CR, and then come back and finish the continuing resolution, finish the fourth stimulus package, the Build Back Better Act? Viewers said yes. So we went on social media and we started the campaign. Well, here's the update today. The CR for stimulus, again, hashtag CR for stimulus, you're in the live chat right now, makes even more sense today because of new comments that came in from Nancy Pelosi and Pramila Jayapal overnight. Now, remember, Nancy Pelosi and Pramila Jayapal are in the House of Representatives. They passed the recon back in November. It is now in the Senate. Has the Senate made the modifications? No. Does Nancy and Pramila have anything to do with the senators? No. They are not senators. They're House members. Now, if the senators make changes to the recon, which of course they would, then they would send it back to the House to be validated at the end. So what did Pramila Jayapal, head of the Progressive Caucus, say in comments just less than 24 hours ago? She said that she believes that the Build Back Better Act, the BBB, will become law by March 1st. Okay. Wow. Now, she's not the one voting on it in the Senate again. She's a House member. It's sort of like the guy selling pretzels in the corner saying, did you know what? I did not know what. What? Did you know that Jennifer Lopez will be passing the recon on February 20th? She's in the Senate? No, but I'm just saying she is. That's the epitome of what Pramila Jayapal is. It's just Liz. She's taking a date out of the air and saying, this is the day it's going to pass. She has nothing to do with the Senate voting. I mean, who is she to say this? It's just sort of hysterical. So what does Nancy Pelosi, also the House, react to the news? She says, that's an aspiration that Pramila and the Progressive have. That's a little shady. But you know what? It's actually true. It's an aspiration, meaning it's just, it's just something she has a little prayer rug for in the back of her office, saying, I'm praying that the recon passes March 1st. No one has given her that day. Now, here is what I like about this quote from Nancy, is that the March 1st date from Pramila Jayapal signals, as a news reporter, as a viewer who is on top of the facts and the details, that perhaps something's happening between today in January and March 1st that causes Pramila Jayapal to say, aha, they're doing something. They're doing something really big between now and March 1st, and that's why it will be March 1st. No, they're not doing anything. That's what Nancy Pelosi actually picks up on. She says, they haven't really, there's not particularly anything scheduled between now and March 1st, so I don't know where Pramila Jayapal is picking that date from. Love you, Nancy. Just love you. Nancy's going in on this one. She said you just chose a date out of the sky, and it's not validated by any events leading up to March 1st. I love it. It's basically, she's saying it's a nonsense date by Pramila Jayapal. So what does Nancy says? Now this quote from Nancy is very interesting. We will pass the bill when we have the votes to pass the bill. Who's the we, Nancy? Remember, Nancy's in the House. She's not in the Senate. So she's saying the Senate will pass the bill? Is she saying the Democrats will pass the bill? Is she saying the House, when the House gets back the bill? I don't know. I really don't know who the we is. But here's what I want you to know, is that CR for stimulus now means more sense than ever before if you listen to this absurd quote from Pramila Jayapal, that the recon will become law by March 1st. Why March 1st? What is March 1st? It's just a random date. Let's just choose a date. Can someone choose a date? Just choose a date. February 15th. Good. The recon will become a law by February 15th. Where did you choose a date? I don't know. I just picked out of the sky. That's literally what she's doing. And it comes in a week in which progressives are under fire for acting really foolish. It's coming up in the second half of this video. We'll be going over why CR for stimulus is so exciting, why it is really the more likelihood of getting out a stimulus check to you by taking the check and removing it, at least one check from the Build Back Better Act, and putting it out in a separate body of legislation. This is where things are starting to look more sensible by the minute. We're also going to examine executive order. The president has an opportunity for executive order. What is it? Is it a stimulus check or is it something else? It's coming up at the second half of this video. Plus, we're going to go over the Boost Act. Good idea or bad idea? Then we'll be going over what's happening with FIT stimulus, what's happening with the Federal Reserve with those 5 interest rate spikes in 2022. Wait a second, what happened in the last 6 hours since I was last on camera? I'll have all those latest details as well. Plus, what's going on with Vladimir Putin? There's always something with him. Those details and more. As we go into the second half, I'll be back with you in 60 seconds with a lot of breaking news and a lot of money. Stay to the very end as Afternoons LA continues. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then Afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now as Stimulus Island expects some new visitors with CR for Stimulus coming to the finish line. Why is CR for Stimulus making much more sense in view of the perhaps wacko statements by progressives in the last 48 hours? I'll go over those wacko comments that are coming on in. Said it changes that incredible recon will be robust. That adds additional money on top of the $15,000 of checks. I'm going to go back into third stimulus because it means Americans watching this channel every single day and need money. I'm going to go over how to get that money, thousands of dollars for you today. Third stimulus. I haven't detailed it in extensive form until today. In over a week, it's back on this channel. Student loan debt forgiveness, the latest details on that, plus what's going on with this stimulus. We have a lot coming up in this recording. Plus, the real shocker is the Federal Reserve going to do 5 interest rate spikes in 2022? Or will it be 7? What are these insane numbers we're seeing in the last few hours? My goodness, those incredible details coming up in the second half. But first, I want you part of this incredible family, so go under the video and subscribe. You're watching LALATE, the number 3 most watched financial news channel in America, live in the morning, taped in the afternoon with a whole new slate of programming, brand new today. Like the video and consider becoming a member to get the incredible newsletter Money Through Friday that features all the incredible money under first, second, and third stimulus. And with that, let's go right back into the CR for Stimulus and understand how that CR for Stimulus can get that money out the door for you. A lot of details, and those details heat up right now as the second half of LALATE continues. Stay to the very end because we got a lot of checks in this incredible recording. Before the commercial break, we saw the comments by Pramila Jayapal that talked about a March 1st deadline. Ridiculous? Absolutely ridiculous. I have no qualms or quarrels about saying when something's ridiculous, it's ridiculous. Well, this is less than 48 hours from when Bernie Sanders, on the other side of the progressives, now in the Senate, said something equally ridiculous, that the provision for the SALT cap, which is a moderate Democrat provision, had been removed. It hadn't. During negotiations, there were no negotiations, and that the SALT cap only helps rich people. It doesn't. And that the SALT cap hurts middle America. It doesn't even touch them. So what's going on here with the progressives? It's like they're getting drunk at lunchtime and staying drunk the whole rest of the day. Ironically, I'm not alone. Bob Menendez, who is a wonderful, long-standing Democrat, I don't even want to call him moderate or progressive. He's liked by everyone. He called up Bernie Sanders for saying those comments. The provisions were not removed for the SALT cap. They don't hurt anyone. And why are you going after moderate Democrats? This is what the progressives have done in the last 3 days, and it's not good. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not good. It doesn't hurt your recon, but if it continues, it could be a big major issue. Number one, Bernie Sanders is going after the sole provision of the recon, the SALT cap, that the moderate Democrats have to have in there to keep it alive in the House. It was passed in the House with that provision added in there. We have to go back to the House if we have Senate provisions added in there. And guess what? If you remove the only thing the moderate Democrats want in there, the whole thing is going to fall apart. So why would he go against after the one provision that keeps it all together? That's the first one. Number two, we have Pramila Jayapal talking about a fake date. I don't know why she's talking about fake dates. Number three, we have Ron Klain, that's Klain, the President's Chief of Staff, detailed in a major news article less than 48 hours ago that said Ron Klain is pandering to the progressives, going after the moderate Democrats with hit pieces in the press, saying Joe Manchin's horrible every single day. That ain't gonna help the Build Back Better Act. Do you see something happening here? This is exactly what you don't do as part of the same political party. You don't go after each other. You don't go after each other's provisions. If you have an issue, you negotiate them behind closed doors. So it was less than 24 hours. It was less than 7 days ago that the president of the United States, he knows how to get bodies of legislation done. He gave a warning. Zip it. He basically said, zip it. He said, we're turning down the volume among our Democrats so that we do not have these war of words in the press. And what did the progressive Democrats do? Pramila coming out. Bernie coming out. Slam. Has to stop, folks. It really has to stop. The Build Back Better Act will not get its engines starting and go back over that finish line if the progressives keep on going after the moderate Democrats. Gotta stop it. This is a very big issue. But again, this is why CR for stimulus is so important for us. CR for stimulus basically says, you know what, if they're having problems with this Build Back Better Act and the problems don't seem to fix themselves, then we have a backup, and the backup actually doesn't go after, it goes first. The backup is taking one stimulus check out of the Build Back Better Act, putting it into the continuing resolution, and send it out. The concept is very simple. Americans need money in time of need. They need the money right now. You want to do the Build Back Better Act that has a lot of provisions in there, and it seems to have a lot of confusion about how to get it done. Continuing resolution budget bill is about as simple as it can be. By the way, someone sent me a beautiful message 24 hours ago, and I forgot what it said, but this is generally what it talked about. Can you resend me that message? Someone had heard that the continuing resolution budget bill, which is, of course, is February, which we're trying to put the stimulus check in there, may also have something else in there that doesn't belong either, which is ammunition for our argument. Things need to be sort of fixed here and there and fixed there. Start adding stuff to CR. It's absolutely wonderful. So that viewers watching, can you resend me that message? Because it was a great message. So this continuing resolution, the concept is to get that stimulus check out. Now, I'm going to go a little bit out of order. You know that I sometimes put economic data at the end of the recordings. I want to put this first right now because this is more reason why the CR for stimulus is needed far more than the Build Back Better Act in March. This is why the CR for stimulus is needed now in by February, than Build Back Better Act in this faux day of March 1st for Pramila. There was a new economic data report that came out last Friday. It said consumers' confidence is really low. This is interesting. Consumer confidence was low. Consumer confidence means how confident are Americans in the U.S. economy? How confident are they to spend money? How confident are they to buy things? Confidence is really low, dramatically low. Okay, so why is it low according to the poll? The consumer confidence is low because people are worried about inflation. No brainer there. That's probably what you thought I was going to say. So the Federal Reserve is now coming in to fix inflation by having interest rate spikes. Okay. Now, the issue with the interest rate spikes is that by bringing in interest rate spikes, you may stall growth. There's a difference between one item and another item. First, Americans are worried about inflation because the inflation, how much it costs to build and buy milk and eggs, is going up faster than your salary. So you're not seeing the benefit of higher salaries that offsets inflation. Now the Federal Reserve is coming in saying, I'm having an interest rate spike in March, and maybe a quarter basis point. That's okay. But the scary thing, I'm scared, is there's a lot of reports out today talking about the Federal Reserve may do 5 interest rate spikes of a quarter basis point in just this year. Some reports saying maybe 7 interest rate spikes. I mean, it's just wacko. It's wacko. Worried about growth, worried about inflation, it's just a lot of problems. That's why CR for stimulus makes so much sense. Get the check out. Get it out right now. Don't wait. Send the check out now. People keep on saying to me, Alec, run for president because you're so sensible. I don't deal with fake narratives. I don't deal with things that are 12 months out. I deal with the present. The present right now is consumer sentiment. It was very bad last Friday. And that's because people are worried they don't have enough money. They're going through their savings and they want the checks out right now. So let's examine what else the president could do also right now, in addition to CR for stimulus. Can CR for stimulus be done with something else as well? Let's examine the possibilities. Number one, can the President of the United States do executive order to send out a stimulus check from the Department of Treasury? He cannot. So the President of the law cannot go to the Department of Treasury, grab a wad of cash and put it in the mail. He cannot. Can the President of the United States repurpose existing money that is not in the Department of Treasury somewhere else and send out as a stimulus check or as another type of benefits? He absolutely can. So if you're a viewer of this channel, and I have a lot of viewers who are very detailed, if you know of extra resources that are sitting around from prior COVID relief acts that have been the programs are run out, but the programs have ended, but the money is still there, send me a private message and I will advocate for its inclusion. Now, how does this work? We talked about this in fall of 2020. At the time, there was $550 billion sitting at the Small Business Administration under Jovita Carranza, SBA. It was money for small businesses, but the programs had ended. The money was still there, unused, $550 billion. It could have been reallocated as a stimulus check. President Donald Trump chose not to. On the other hand, he did do something very similar to this elsewhere. He saw money was sitting around at FEMA, FEMA, for COVID relief, repurposes as additional weeks of unemployment boost as LWA, aka FPUC. So is there extra money sitting around that Joe Biden can repurpose as a stimulus check is set out? I don't know if that money is around. If you know about it, send me a private message. I'll feature it live on air. One thing I do know that Joe Biden could do tomorrow morning and should do it is many of the parts of this stimulus. We have millions of Americans who are struggling in time of need who are of advanced age or on benefits. And that would alleviate an enormous swath of the American population that are in time of need by getting them relief right now. How do you do this? You do some of this stimulus by executive decree. It's not an executive order. Let me explain what this is. The President of the United States has the authority to pick up the phone and contact an agency of the federal government saying, I want you to do something a little bit different on the guidelines for this. Joe Biden's done this before. He did this in October 2020 when he picked up the phone and called Department of Food and Agriculture, said, you know what? I don't like the amount of money you're sending out for SNAP. I want you to pay out more money per month on SNAP. That was a phone call. It was an executive order. And that's why your SNAP benefits went up an average of 25% lifetime in the month of October, because he did that. What should he do right now? He should do some of the provisions of FIS stimulus. The first one he can do, which is the benchmark. The current benchmark of your benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, and veterans benefits, looks every December at one benchmark called COLA. And if COLA is 0, then your benefits the next year are the same amount. If COLA is 1%, then your benefits go up 1%. What happened with COLA last December? It was 5.9%. The first time it's worked in many, many, many years, almost several decades. But the president should come right now and say, you know what? Everyone agrees. COLA don't work. Remove COLA. Social Security Administration, it's me, Joe Biden, on the phone. Replace it with inflation and do that as the new benchmark starting right in the month of March and keep it going forward. Does not even act of Congress for this. What would this do for millions of Americans? Immediately, your benefits would go up not 5.9%, but upwards of 8% instantly. It would be an additional 3% more per month that you would be getting. Here's case in point. 2 weeks ago, the Department of Labor released the inflationary numbers. It was 7.5%. What I had predicted it was going to be in December 2020, about 8%. It's not going to go down, but in the next 30 days, it will go down later. So this is why you want this to happen now. You don't want inflation to go back down to like 6% or something, and your benefits should have been up 7.5%. You want to get that boost right now. President could do this right now. Your benefits would go up. You would get more money in your wallet every single month. This is something he should do right now. Third, the Boost Act doesn't help. It doesn't help. The Boost Act is another body of legislation. We have a lot of bodies of legislation, but the problem at issue is that legislation will never pass the House and Senate unless it goes by recon, because the Republicans don't want to send you any relief. Republicans don't want to send you relief, so you have to do everything by recon. And you see already the problems of the recon right now with the Build Back Better Act. You shouldn't be defaulted to another recon across the board. So let's go over all these incredible checks in this incredible recon, and I want to get you that money for third stimulus. Get ready, get that pen and paper ready. If you remember this channel, pull out the newsletter and follow along with me right now. In this fourth stimulus recon, there's about $15,000 to $60,000 of checks. They got $72,500 of what you deduct in state and local taxes under the SALT cap, raising up from $10,000. They got cheaper prescription medication, with medication growing to 30 by the year 2028, the most expensive Medicare Part D, B, reducing them dramatically, like cancer, arthritis, and diabetes. They got checks for free job training, $50 billion of it. They got the Medicaid gap fix in there that'll provide years of subsidized private insurance to low-income uninsured people in Republican-held alt states. They'll provide free medical assistance. They got in there the housing, which we're going to come back to in a second. They got in there the home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. We covered that a second ago. They got in there the $550 check for the Pell Grant recipients, college students, $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle, $65 per month for nutrition when you're not in school. Bernie is going to get in there, and I believe he's going to get in there, the lowering the eligibility age of Medicare, the dental, the vision, and that's on top of the hearing check as well. But that tees up then the housing that is repeated from third stimulus under fourth stimulus. The great news, you don't have to wait for it to become a law under fourth stimulus. You can get it right today for third stimulus. So get that pen and paper ready and that newsletter out. We're going to go over the incredible sums of money right now for that rent, and here we go. The rent is a lot. This was the graphic back in October. Viewers are now getting upwards of $40,000. So where do you get the rent from? 6 places. Take note. Here we go. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall, and State House Authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. 3 months. You must get applications on file everywhere. Number 2, you must get multiple rounds. More about that in a second. And finally, number 3, you must reach out to all 6 places. That's rent. I'm going to come back to those rounds in just a second. Here we go. Utilities. You want to reach out to all utility companies and say utility assistance because of COVID, and get another round of that as well. Mark's brother-in-law is getting $15,000 a year. Wow, incredible. SNAP. You want to get from the Department of Agriculture, and it's a lot. Viewers are getting a lot of money for the SNAP. It is money for food. The eligibility is easier than the third stimulus check. Mark's brother-in-law is getting $25,000 a year. Over 10 years is $250,000. Combo. You want to get 3 or more items. Here's Nisi. Inspired by Nisi and Art Sullivan, they got 3. I told viewers to continue to get 3. Mark was only at 2 at $32,000. I said, Mark was your third. He got his third, brought him to $50,000. Now he got more. He's over $100,000. Here's Lorraine. She's at $105,000. Now she's heading to $120,000. So let's turn to that round and how that round works. The concept of a round is very simple. Month to month to month. How many months are you getting paid for that particular phone call? I had 2 viewers who I want to feature, I think, on Evenings LA, because I forgot to bring them on air with my notes for this show. They got another round in the last few days. The concept of the round is very simple. When third stimulus became a law, millions of Americans elsewhere were misguided by bad news reporters who told people in bad news reports that the only thing in the third stimulus package was a $1,400 stimulus check. Untrue. And if you read that news site, throw it away. Because at the time, I told my viewers that third stimulus had upwards of $15,000 of checks in third stimulus. The average viewer of this channel got $45,000 when third stimulus became law, from rent, utilities, and mortgage assistance. When millions of Americans were told everywhere else that there was no money in there, guess what? The news reporters are lazy collecting six-figure checks, not telling you what the checks are for you to get on the recon. That's my job, to show you how to get money. That's been the purpose of this channel since day one. I got viewers $25 million of EIDL loans, and I think between EIDL loans and grants, unemployment assistance like PUA, FPUC, UI, and now third stimulus, I think we have gotten somewhere between $35 to $50 million across the viewership of this channel in the last year and a half. When third stimulus became law, I said, go get it. Viewers got 45,000. Last summer, they got another round. Then last winter, I said, go get it again. Viewers said, but I'm waiting for a stimulus check. I said, no, go get this money. And viewers on average got $15,000 from third stimulus as Christmas stimulus. Now what I want you to do is do another round, but I want you to go out to potentially May. Can't get May, then do April. Can't get April, then do March. Get as far out as possible by lean on the same places you went before. If they say they're out of funds, then look to the nonprofits. The nonprofits are featured in the newsletter. Viewers should never ask things like, I need a window fix, or I need a space heater. It's all featured from the nonprofits in the newsletter across the board. So consider becoming a member. The link is under this video right now. Meantime, what's going on with Jay Powell? What is going on with Vladimir Putin? And what is going on with Joe Biden? It's really it is a dance step. And I'm going to have a little bit of financial analysis here because, boy, it is getting very dicey. I got to tell you. Dicey, because when you have inflation, you have a lot of strange problems. We had inflation in its own universe up to September. Then we had Omicron come in. And Omicron kept people out of the workforce sick, so that caused more inflation. And Omicron is still here, so it's still causing its own event of inflation. Now, Federal Reserve, it was supporting this economy with mortgage-backed securities way too long. It should have stopped it last year. By doing that, it was funneling too much money into this economy and creating its own inflation. So what is the Federal Reserve doing now? It's removed that support, and now it's coming in with interest rate spikes. Here's the problem. Americans in that consumer confidence report last week said, I'm not confident in this economy. I feel uncertain. I feel like I'm using up my savings. I'm not getting paid more as a worker, and it's costing a lot more to buy things. I'm unsettled. So what is the Federal Reserve going to do? The Federal Reserve is going to say, you have credit card debt. It's now going to be more money. You have student loan debt. It's now going to be more money because I'm raising the interest rates up a quarter basis points in the month of March. Now, that's not anticipated. I've been reporting that for a while. But suddenly we're hearing these reports today about 5 interest rate spikes in 1 year at a quarter basis points. That's huge. And then there's these sort of fringe reports of 7 interest rate spikes at a quarter basis points in 1 year from 0 to 7. Okay, this is getting a little bit dicey. Then we have the concerns that Omicron's still here. There's a lot of reports about a second Omicron right behind it. Then we have the concerns about Vladimir Putin invading Ukraine, and Ukraine is all about oil. We have problems with oil. Then guess what? You already know the 1970s story. Oil and runaway gasoline prices. Yeah, we've already done that. We have a lot of dicey economic things here. And guess what? It ain't just me. All the number 1 and number 2 financial news channels are all talking about the same thing. They're worried about growth in this economy being stifled by these interest rate spikes, by the lack of the recon not getting done, by the concerns about Ukraine, and about the concerns that Omicron is still keeping people out of the workforce. And what is the universal force? There is none. It's all over the place. It's very messy. If something's messy, I'll tell you it's messy. This looks messy. And why is this so important? Because it's your money. I want you to be ahead of the ball. Inflation is going to continue to go up a little bit more this month, so be ahead of that. Number two, I want you to advocate for money to go out as soon as possible, not necessarily as part of the recon. We're going to advocate for the recon, but we're also going to advocate for money going out as a separate body of legislation. You're going to see Bob Menendez in the next 24 hours advocating for sanctions against Russia in Ukraine. That's fine. But if they have time to do that, they have time to put a stimulus check also in the continuing resolution. A lot of details, a lot to digest. We'll have more about this today on Evenings LA. It's starting to become a very fast news cycle once again on this channel because there's so many economic events that are really not on the same plane, not on the same road. They are literally intersecting each other at the same time. That I'm going to keep you on top of all this and more. Join me next on Evenings LA, which is at 5 o'clock. Then we have Evenings Countdown at 6 o'clock. Home Screen Stimulus at 7 and the Evenings Extra at 8 o'clock. And then we go over in our overnight shows that start at 9, 10, and 11:30 before we return with Sunrise LA to next day as well. And with that, I want you part of the incredible family and hit that subscribe button. Like the video and become part of the number 3 most watched financial news channel in America. Thank you for all your incredible comments. If you have private messages, send it to me on social media and I may feature them on air, including if you have a new success story for third stimulus. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful day, and stay with LA for more.